Today was a special day. The 15-year-old turtle was no longer there. Michelangelo was now 16 years old, and he was very happy that he was going to celebrate it with the pink pony. But when he woke up, Pinkie Pie was nowhere to be seen in the building. Not even Gummy he was seen. Where are they? They couldn't just disappear into thin air, right? So then where are they? "Sweet Cupcake?" he called out. "Gummy?" No answer had responded to him. There was no sound of the pink pony he had cared for a long time. The pony was always with him. Even as a doll, he used to cuddle and go to sleep at night. Even in his dreams, she was with him in different forms he can imagine. Even one with Pokemon, and she was battling him or joining him in a double battle. Without her, none of those dreams will come back. In fact, the lack of her existence was leaving the orange-masked turtle feeling all sorts of negative feelings, with loneliness as the biggest emotion he feels at the moment. So where was his sweet cupcake? "Pinkie Pie?" He expected no reply. When a familiar, cracking, crunching-like sound was heard in a far corner. His eyes shot open as he realized that sound is very familiar to him. As he runs over to the corner, to his relief, the familiar bone-made pony was standing there, but she was strangely dressed in strange clothing. Shining beneath the moon's light, she stood underneath it. She was wearing a pretty pale yellow dress with a sparkling paler yellow cloth over it. On her back, avoiding her wings, was a slightly darker yellow saddle which had the sheer yellow somewhat like a strap to keep it on her. Her pure black mane had a pale yellow rose stuck on one side of her head, and on her back hooves were a pair of matching pale yellow translucent glass slippers. On her front hooves were two translucent yellow bracelets with solid pale yellow roses on the front. She looked fantastic, as Mikey thought, but it vanished as he realized why he was relieved to see her again. "Hey, miss, have you seen Pinkie Pie?" He cut off his question when he knew about the pony's slight temper. But he didn't know her name, so he could only go with Miss until he could get her name. Back to his question, though, the skeletal pony shook her head no, though something confused Mikey. Her familiar sound of cracking bones and crunching glass shards was softer, less quiet, almost as if cotton or feathers had softened the sound. The skeletal pony suddenly turned her head and leaned down, causing curiosity to grab Mikey. He listened quietly to the new sounds being emitted from her bones, before her horn lit up with a pale yellow magic and pulled something out beneath her skeletal wing. Gently levitating it over to Mikey, the turtle could see a rectangled shape and very thin with black writing on it. Taking the paper as the magic disappeared, he pulled it up and closely to read it. "Light green and bright orange are the colors that make me think of you, and they continue to make me think of you. But your goofy, kind, caring nature was what truly wrapped my heart in your chains of sweetness and savory." His heart fluttered as he reread the little note before his baby blue eyes picked up on something being held in the skeletal pony's mouth. It was bright orange like his mask, as it swayed gently with no saliva soaking the pure silk in it. The bow was neatly and nicely tied, surprisingly not bothering Mikey at all. The orange-masked turtle reached out and grabbed the bow tie with no struggle as the skeletal pony had let go. Carefully and somehow, he tied the bow tie around his neck, and in a way, so he doesn't choke himself or the ribbon wouldn't fall off. Mikey noticed the skeletal pony lifting her right foreleg and pointed at a door he had never noticed at all. Curiously, he followed the direction, towards the stairs and carefully walked onto them, being careful not to step on into any steps that could easily break. He stayed warily on the stairs while carefully climbing on them. He made it at least halfway up when he found another note stuck on the rail with only a tiny, thin shred of tape stuck onto it. He quickly snatched it, and just as soon as it snapped off the rail. Once he brought it up to read, his cheeks blushed bright red. His heart was beating against his chest in another attempt to break free, and his throat felt like it was going to be blocked by how much his heart was beating. My heart beats only for you. My head is filled with thoughts of only you. Even through my dreams, I continue to yearn for your touch, and that will never end because you're the only one who keeps me going. I'll protect you with even my own very life. No harm shall fall on you, as long as you are by my side, and my care will continue to grow for you. Like sweet and savory, we could be soulmates. What I'm trying to say is... The message was cut off there, but Mikey seemed to understand. Carefully, he walked up the stairs so he wouldn't fall through. Each step made a creaking noise below him, but he remained cautious on them because one wrong move could lead him falling towards a painful injury. Once up to the door to the roof, he found another note taped on it, along with another little present taped on the note. Taped on the note were 2 silvery chain necklaces with 2 rings attached to them. One ring was bright orange with a little pizza slice on it, and it had everything like the brown crust, the yellow cheese, and the red pepperoni. The other ring was hot pink with a little tiny cupcake on it, and it too had everything on it. The blue wrapper, the vanilla cake topped with white frosting, rainbow sprinkles, and even a red cherry. They were beautiful in Mikey's opinion. Gently, he pulled them off the note without tearing the words off before he read the note. When he did, his heart had nearly stopped and his breath was caught in his throat. A smile was breaking its way through his face, and a red blush spread across his cheeks. As if he was a ticking time bomb, joy was ready to explode out of the orange-masked turtle. He grabbed the doorknob and opened the door to step out, but as he did, he stopped dead in his tracks by the beautiful sight before him.
So what's your answer, Mikey?
Her voice was coated in sweet, gentle, and kind with a dash of excitement as her bright cerulean blue eyes looked at him with a red blush dusting her cheeks. Her hot pink curly mane was tied back a bit while wearing a little white and blue hat topped with a pink and yellow bow on both sides. The wind blew against her hot pink skirt decorated with candy corns and little lollipops at the top, and a blue ribbon with pink bows at the bottom. Her corset was striped in white and blue, with a little pink and hot pink frill underneath, and a white puffy rainbow-sprinkled frill. On the center was a bit of hot pink bow, and on all 4 of her hooves were hot pink sparkling bows, each one topped off with a white and blue striped bow. She was truly very beautiful to Mikey, and especially when she was in the dusk's light. Pinky seemed to have caught on Mikey's stare at her, and she blushed in embarrassment.
Is this too much?
She asked nervously.
I can go and change if you want.
No! The turtle exclaimed. The pink pony jumped a bit from the sudden exclaim from Mikey, causing her heart to start skipping beats. You look very gorgeous, he stammered, his blush deepening into a bright red. The outfit suits you very much. Pinkie Pie blushed at the words, and she felt her heart beat faster in the same attempt to break out of its prison, like Mikey's heart kept attempting to do. She smiled shyly and looked at him.
Thank you,
she squeaked a bit, blushing bright red. Mikey smiled back to her gently before he closed the door behind him and walked towards her. Pinkie Pie noticed the two necklaces clutched in Mikey's hand and noticed how one of them was beginning to sparkle a little, making a little smile grow on her face. Mikey noticed this and grew curious. "What you smiling about?" he asked. Pinkie quickly snapped her gaze back at him, and her smile turned bright and big.
Nothing. Just have a little surprise planned for us tonight. But what's your answer?
The orange-masked turtle blushed red in realization and smiled shyly, but joyfully as he replied with an answer that made Pinkie's eyes water with joy. "I would love to date you, my sweet cupcake." In a flash, Pinkie Pie leaped towards the turtle and hugged him tightly with tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. Her heart felt like it had exploded with happiness and joy as she blushed red.
Thank you so much, Mikey,
she said softly, choking back her joyful cries. Mikey smiled, and a red blush was dusted on his cheeks. Carefully, he gently pulled away from her and looked at her in her cerulean eyes with his baby blue ones. Both of them smiled before Pinkie Pie turned and took one of the ring necklaces with her hoof. It was the one with the pizza slice. An idea popped into Mikey's mind, and a smile, one that made Pinkie's heart flutter, spread across his face as he gently took the necklace from the pink pony's hoof. "Pinkie Pie, ever since I took you in, I felt this connection between us. I always knew you were something else than a doll. You are such a sweet pony, who is energetic, sweet, party-loving. You remind me of myself. Without you, it's like my heart is missing one half, and my mind would go crazy without anyone to guide me. Without you, it's like my whole life had no more purpose left. Please don't leave me ever, Pinkie Pie. What I'm trying to say is, I love you." Pinkie Pie stood there in awe, not moving an inch. Her heart was beating so fast that it almost caused her to suffocate, and her cheeks were burning in mixed colors of pink and red. Those 3 words must be a dream or not. If it was a dream, she was begging not to wake up. Seeing Pinkie's current state made Mikey crack a smile before he gently placed the pizza slice necklace around the pink pony's neck, and with a click, the necklace was secured. "Will you always be my cupcake princess?" The question was enough to snap Pinkie Pie out of her trance. She smiled brightly before she leapt forward and tackled the party turtle into a tight hug.
Yes, I will!
She cried out happily. Mikey smiled brightly and hugged back tightly, his own tears of joy streaming down his face as his smile grew big. "Best birthday ever," he thought in his mind. The duo stayed in the hugging position for what seemed like an eternity to them before they slowly broke away, and their eyes had locked with each other's in a gaze that could possibly stop time.
I feel the same way for you, Mikey. Unlike those who treated me with no heart or love is nothing to me but party poopers who don't know anything about our love. You are kind, caring, party-loving, sweet, goofy, and so much more than what I can list. So I hope together we can show them what we can really do by ourselves. But I still hope we never separate from each other.
Her words made the turtle more focused than ever, and its heart was beating against his chest in some kind of rhythm. Seeing this type of trance gave Pinkie the chance to hold up the cupcake necklace, and she smiled gently to Mikey.
With our hearts as one, my savory pizza, will you always be my pizza prince?
A moment of silence was dragged in the air before Mikey nodded absent-mindedly. "I will, and always will be your prince, my sweet cupcake," he vowed sternly. The pink pony's smile grew bigger, and she unhooked the necklace before leaning closer into the orange-masked turtle. With ease, a single click was heard from behind the turtle's neck as the pony pulled away. The cupcake charm hung onto the chain with no attempts at falling off. But as it was secured around Mikey's neck, the sparkling faded, which confused Mikey at first, when suddenly a bright hot pink glow had come out of the cupcake and shot right into the turtle's eyes. "Arr!" He yelled out in pain before he dropped to his knees and covered his eyes. He shivered in pain before he was wrapped by the arms of his now beloved cupcake.
Mikey, are you all right?
Pinkie exclaimed worriedly. No response was received, and Pinkie Pie was beginning to panic a bit.
I think I used too much,
she cried in her mind. A moment of silence was dragged in the air, once again, when a sudden chuckle left the turtle. Pinkie Pie quickly backed away from her love, and she watched it as the shivering came to a stop. All of a sudden, her ears swiveled towards the roof door, and she turned towards the attention of the running, muffled footsteps coming from behind the door. The door slammed open, and in came Gummy, looking panicked and worried. The Crocorock was panting out of breath, sweat dripping down from his head before he looked directly at his trainer. The pink pony nearly jumped at the sight of Gummy's sudden appearance, and she knew something was up.
Gummy? What's wrong? Where's...
Pinkie's words came to a stop when she heard the familiar sound of running hooves and clanking bones hitting one another coming towards the door behind Gummy. The faint sound of crunching glass shards and cracking bones still accompanied her, yet it was strangely fading away a bit. Why? Never mind. The sudden arrival was more concerning.
What's wrong, you two?
She asked nervously. No words had come out of the skeletal pony's mouth, but she looked at her in the eyes, despite not having eyes of her own anymore. A moment of silence had once again been dragged in the air, when Pinkie's cerulean blue eyes widened in shock and her expression grew hard and her lips curled into an enraged snarl.
They're coming for my head, Mikey,
she growled under her breath.
Perhaps we should flee again, and...
She stopped talking, and her hard look shifted to one of concern when she turned her attention back to Mikey. The turtle had stopped shivering, and he was now standing on his 2 feet. His eyes were closed, and his breath was too quiet to hear.
Mikey?
Pinkie squeaked. She attempted to reach towards him when her eyes caught the tiny specks of hot pink glow surrounding Mikey in a circle before they quickly faded in seconds into nothing. A dark chuckle had left Mikey's mouth as he slowly lifted his head, and a dark smile spread across his face.
Why don't we give them a taste of their own medicine instead?
Mikey's suggestion made a dark smirk appear on his face, and his eyes slowly opened to reveal the bright hot pink eyes that were filled with anger, and one thing that slipped out the turtle's mouth, which made a smile of excitement appear on his beloved pony's face.
Why don't we instead give them a taste of our revenge?
In complete silence, the skeletal pony watched as the two lovers began to discuss their plan of the unknown arrival that would soon come. She couldn't show it exactly, but her familiar sounds of cracking bones and crunching glass shards had quieted down enough to not be heard. Lowering her head, and just faintly, a wet, clear substance formed in her empty black eye, and it grew bigger before it broke and streamed down her cheek. Inside her head, a quiet yet broken and sad voice that matched the one of a teenage female, but was not her own, mumbled in her mind.
Oh, Pinkie Pie, what have you become?